Well, don't you know that carpal tunnel is a condition that can be treated very easily? And to help us with that, to find out what carpal tunnel is all about and what we can do to solve the issue, we have Michael Loloyan with us. He's a chiropractor. Good to have you back on the show again.
Always a pleasure.
Trinity Chiropractic is where you're located out of. Where is the location for Trinity?
So it is located in Stittsville.
Okay.
And you cannot miss it because there's a giant Inukshuk statue there ready to greet you.
Look for the Inukshuk statue.
Yes.
Simple as that. Can you tell us what carpal tunnel is? You hear that term and people may have some myths behind it. So what exactly is it?
Yeah, so carpal tunnel, when someone really has it, it's basically what in your wrist, there's a nerve called the median nerve, okay? So when that nerve gets irritated, you get carpal tunnel, which is also the symptoms you feel go in your first three fingers, like that feeling of pain, numbness, or even electric shock in some cases.
Okay, now what would bring on carpal tunnel?
So overuse, not moving much, so staying in a position still actually takes a lot more energy than moving around. So whenever you don't move much, you get a buildup of metabolic waste. And then what this does, that it causes a buildup of fibrosis in your joints. So fibrosis is just a fancy way of saying a mass of disorganized tissue, right? So when it forms, you have less blood, you have less oxygen going to the region. And when this happens, well, it causes an inflammation, which will then irritate the nerve below it. That's
not a fun, comfortable feeling, I'm guessing.
No, not at all.
So I'm guessing that one of your tips is basically just to stay active with your hands.
Yes, so as I said, staying still, not a good thing. And during your shift, don't be afraid to move your hands back and forth, definitely.
Okay.
And definitely do see people that work on muscle tissue, and they can help prevent it from occurring.
Okay. So how big of a problem is carpal tunnel?
It is a huge problem, especially amongst people that work in an office setting. But it also is very common in pregnant women or people that suffer from hypothyroidism.
Okay.
So it's not always due to a problem at the wrist.
Can I ask why pregnant women? Why would pregnant women be?
So typically it's because it's a buildup of liquid, edema that happens. So when there's more liquid in the body, well, it can cause pressure on joints, nerves, and other surrounding structures.
Okay. So maybe this sounds very self-explanatory, because when I'm thinking of carpal tunnel, you're thinking about computer work.
Yeah, it's typical.
So would that be the #1 cause for carpal tunnel in the workplace?
That's what I believe, and yes, I see it often.
Okay. All right, so it can be treated easily.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people think that when they have carpal tunnel, they're stuck with surgery. That is so not true.
Surgery? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
And a lot of people do take the surgery, and what's really unfortunate, around 50% of people that do get the surgery, they're still not able to go back to work. And what we do is that we adjust the region, and we also do heavy-duty muscle work. Once you break up that fibrosis, then you have, again, blood and oxygen that go to the region, and a healing process begins, and the inflammation is gone.
Okay. So how many treatments would it take then? Would it just depend on the severity of it?
Yeah, it depends on the severity, but typically within one treatment, people feel 50 to 75% better. My typical case is within 2 to 3 treatments, it's like they never had it. But if you have someone that's had it for years and years and years, unfortunately, you could get what's called the calcified version of it. That takes a bit more time.
Okay. Another question might be silly, but carpal tunnel, now, is this only happening on hands?
So there are a lot of conditions that happen due to, as I said earlier, fibrosis, right? A lot of people, they have trouble walking on their feet, right? You see that, and everyone says, oh, I have plantar fasciitis, I can't walk, it hurts whenever I wake up in the morning. It's the same concept. You break up that tissue that forms below the foot because it thickens up and thus becomes inflamed. Same concept, less blood, less oxygen. You break that tissue apart, blood and oxygen goes back, healing begins, and it's like you've never had it.
Okay. Can I ask you when it's not carpal tunnel?
So yeah, whenever I get a true case of carpal tunnel, it's very, very rare. A lot of people, they'll think it's here, but the median nerve starts in the neck, right? So you can have it irritated at multiple levels throughout your body. So typically what happens is people have what they call the round pronator syndrome. So where the muscle that does this, right? And we're always like this, right? So the muscle is going to become very tight, inflamed, and the median nerve that goes below it is going to also be irritated, causing the feeling of something similar to carpal tunnel. So as a chiropractor, what we do is we try to find the source of it. It's very easy to say, oh, I have tingling in these 3 fingers, I have carpal tunnel. The cause can be here, it could be here, it could be in the chest, and it can also be in the neck.
That's something. To think that all the way from the neck could be affecting what's happening with your hands.
Yeah, the human body is quite fun to deal with.
It's a wonder. Okay, you actually wanted to show some tips. So I'm walking in and I'm telling you, Mr. Chiropractor, my hand is not feeling well. I think it's carpal tunnel. And then you would take my hand?
Yeah, I would take your hand. First, we'll do some movements, but
Okay,
ultimately
yeah.
there's a couple of tests that you'll see commonly done. The first is what we call the Tunnel test. All you do is you just do this. And trust me, if you have carpal tunnel, you're going to feel that shock going through.
Okay.
And then there's other tests, you could put your hands like this, and if it irritates within a few seconds, then also is another
Okay.
possibility of
here.
having carpal tunnel.
Yes.
You really want to try it out?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, you would hold this like this, or the variation is like this.
Okay, so because I'm not feeling pain, I mean, I should be good to go.
You should be good to go.
Even
yeah.
though I do work at an office desk, believe it or not, and I'm there for hours and hours. But
Unfortunately, the human body has a lot of things called subclinical. You might have a problem building up, but because the inflammation is not there enough, then it stays silent.
okay. Can you also tell us, I mean, obviously you're not just about the spine, because you think about chiropractors and you think it's all about back, but when you're helping with hands and feet, I mean, chiropractors do it all.
Yeah, you name it, arms, hands, knees, feet. If there's a bone or joint there or a muscle, there's a good chance we can assist with it.
That's something else. Okay, so like I said, if I was to walk in, think that I have carpal tunnel, like how long would it take to assess whether or not it's actually carpal tunnel or it's something else?
Within usually when a person comes, so first we ask questions, right? Usually by the way the person answers the questions, then we already have a good idea. That's where we get the majority of our information. The rest of it is the exam. And for a typical wrist exam, within 2 to 3 minutes, we already know where we are at. Doesn't take that long.
Does it usually happen to both hands at once, or is...
Typically, when people come, they have both hands.
Yeah, because it's back to the same problem,
Yes.
right, with the fluids and
Yeah, I haven't seen a case where it's restricted to one hand.
Has it ever been so bad that it can't be solved?
I personally have never had a case like this, but I am sure there exist cases where surgery is necessary. But I urge individuals that before resorting to surgery to come see a chiropractor so we could generally see, okay, where's the problem coming from? And when people go for surgery and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that it didn't work. What happens after a surgery is you have scar tissue building up.
Okay.
So, they could get rid of the fibrosis, like open up the way.
I got to cut you off
Yep,
there.
fair
but
enough.
yes, kineticchiro.com for more details.
Yep.
Thank you. More daytime coming up in moments. Don't go anywhere.